Hey everyone, it's Trish. I wanted to share with you how I built my little defined word, which is your Project 3 experiment this week. So again, I did this in InDesign, but I won't lie, I did a little live tracing of this barbed wire in Illustrator. So I figured I'd just show you kind of those two things and go from there. So again, we're in InDesign. I'm going to create a new file. Go up to File New or Control N. And we're going to work with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper for this project. You can choose landscape or portrait or landscape. I'm going with horizontal and I'm going to click create. Now, I pulled this definition off of Merriam-Webster's. I think, oh, did I? I must have. Basically what you want to make sure you have is you want to have the word itself. How does the word sound? The sound of the word. And oftentimes this is sort of bracketed in or spaced in or something like that. And this is actually another, this is a slight variation on what I had. I like using, instead of using the slashes, I like using the upright bar, which is the shift with the slash. And then I usually keep that in there, but fens is also perfectly good. I was looking at a couple different forms of definitions. The cool thing about this project is you could use a word and use a really kind of random definition from it, or a reference that is more informal too. So we have those two things. And then I want the actual definition. So I will copy and paste that. And then we'll put that in. Now, I mean, technically this could all be in one box, and that would probably make my life easier, at least in the case of fence and the sound it makes. I think I'll keep that separate. Now, my idea in the previous visual was to incorporate not one, but two fences. And I think if I spent more time, I would further increase the, I think the number of fences. I think the more barriers, the cooler this could be. So first things first, though, I need to come up with a typeface. And I went with copper plate, actually, which I like because it's all caps, so it's a little bit of a screaming or a screen. And it's got those uprights, those like solid uprights, but then they have these little kind of sharp bits, right, for serifs. And I love that combination of the two. Now, the other thing I'm asking for is hierarchy. Hierarchy is essentially, what do you want people to see first? What do you want to draw attention to first? And that is the art of hierarchy. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm just changing type sizes. I can change how I led the area there. Now, again, if you kept these in separate boxes, you could do this manually. But what I'm doing is I'm using the leading, the tracking, and the sizing here within the character in the properties palette. Okay. Now, the definition is important, but not as important as the title, and not as important as the pronunciation. Now, we need to use just one typeface for this, but you can use its variants. So in this case, I can use copperplate, but I could use copperplate in its light setting if I wanted to. And now right now I have the guides on. If you don't have anything selected at any time in InDesign, you can just push W, and it will give you a print preview. So it sort of hides all your guides. And you can push W and it goes right back. If you happen to be in your type box, however, it will type you a W. So I'm looking at that, and that's not aligned at all. I think I'm going centered type. So we'll go into that's pages, not paragraphs, and center that type. And then the other thing we want to do is actually align this type, center it in the page itself. And how we go about doing that, we'll select both. And in the properties palette, if you scroll down, when you have more than one thing selected, you can do alignments. So I want to align these two things, but to the page. And I want to do center alignment. And so there I go. There it is. Okay, so let's push W again, see how that looks. I don't like this spacing here, so I'm gonna play with this and see if I can I get it to a place, yeah, like that, where it's the break of the lines is good. They're sort of even though they're ragged. There's not some like extreme spacing, or you don't have weird hyphens, the widows. Could we push it in tighter to do that? This is where the fun is for me anyways, is like, where is it gonna look good? What do I need to do in terms of getting people to read it? So oftentimes that could be the case. And so I'm gonna select both of those things again, align them again, because I just messed around with it. Now I'm going to make a little picket fence. So InDesign has some drawing tools. It's not really meant to draw, but you can. I'm using a rectangle, and then I'm going to use my pen tool and add 1 point. Now I'm going to use my direct selection tool and select that point. I will select that point. Maybe we need to zoom in a little. There it is. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll take the point and pull it up. Now I want it pointy, but as you see, these ones actually are squared off. They're just really tiny, so you see them as points from far away. So I could even add in another point and create a little more authenticity in my choice here and really make that top more similar. In my first layout that I did to show you, I didn't make it with that sort of blunt top. I made a pointy top, and I think the blunt top might be better. This is sort of the nuance and minutia you would do in Illustrator, but to be honest with you, I like it just as much in here as I do in Illustrator. I like fiddling with the little details. Anyhow, all right, so that one's going to be awesome, I think. It's a little tall, a little narrow, but I kind of like it's a little more imperfect than the last one I built. And I'm going to duplicate it. You just hold your Option key when you're in selection of an object and pull it and drag it and let go, and you'll get a duplicate. That includes when you double select something. So this is one way to quickly build yourself a fence. And also give you some fencing on this side. The other one I had them much taller. They were pretty much thicker than this as well. So I could go in and find where, I think I did alignment with the bottom of the F baseline. I think I did it like that. but I think it looks cool. Might get rid of those. Take and bring these in. I like that. Now, the part of this that I wanted to add was sort of that vibe of a you know, of a barbed wire fence. And so it's one of those things where you can look up online illustrations of barbed wire fences, or drawings or photos, whatever you want. And what's nice is that if you want, you can choose to go into, let's say, Illustrator, for instance. So I'm going to share my Illustrator page. This is actually the piece that I did before. We are in Illustrator, and I'm just copying and pasting. Oops, I'm going to copy and paste or drag and drop the image that I want to live trace or image trace. And when you have an image like this in Illustrator, usually the image trace will pop up in your properties, but you can also open up the palette for image trace. Let's see. There it is. Under window, image trace. And in this case, I want just the black areas, so I'm only going to select silhouettes. And while that is nice, I would like more details. So I'm going to decrease my threshold, and that should give me a little bit more of that look I was going for. Okay, so maybe something like that. And when you're done with an image trace, you need to expand it. So object expand, and you want to expand everything. And so now this is a piece of art, and I can copy this. So edit copy or control C for copy. And then I can go back into my InDesign, and I can paste it, control V or edit paste, and bring in my barbed wire. Then I can make it bigger, make it more prominent. Now it's funny that I've got like 4s, so I'm going to take and drop it down to 3, I think. Oop, not everything. And now, you know, again, when you have something like this, you can use your arrows, your mouse. I love the arrows because they give you like such nice tiny increments. So I actually sort of like the vibe of this one a little bit better than the one from before. And perhaps I could even push it further by changing its color. If I wanted to like maybe make it red, or I could drop it back in value. The other one was way more subtle, right? That gray tone. It's still over the picket fence, but this is a totally different vibe just with the color, right? And then from here, what I would do to save this or to save a file to upload, I would click on File and I would click Export. And exporting the file, you want to save it as, ideally, as a PDF this time. You can save it as a JPEG if you really wanted to, but a PDF is a little bit better just because I can edit it and we can all see it a little bit better oftentimes. All right, so, and then to save the file itself, you want to go File and Save, and it will save in a .indd file. If you haven't worked with InDesign before, that's pretty key too. I hope this is helpful to you, and I hope you enjoyed this project. I'm really excited to see what everybody what everybody chooses. Maybe we can make a little book out of this. Be well.